Buy Black Podcast, Episode 7. 15 businesses you can start after relocating or pushing the reset button on life. Welcome to Buy Black, the only podcast dedicated to helping you find, connect with, and support Black-owned businesses. We're on a mission to bring consumers and business owners together to ignite the global Black economy. I'm your host, Gerald Jones, and if you're a Black business owner or a socially conscious consumer, you've joined the right community. Ready? Let's get to work. Hey guys, welcome back to Buy Black, the only show in your podcast world dedicated to helping you connect with business owners so that we can support Black-owned businesses. Today's show is going to be the first one I did this week. When I first started, I was on a 2-episode-a-week schedule, but things have gotten a little bit more busy and hectic in my work life and my second job life, and I just don't have the time and ability to put out 2 episodes a week, but I definitely didn't want to skip a week, so I'm putting out this episode today. And I was kind of having a hard time coming up with a topic for today's episode because, the only thing that's been in the news and in front of me and on my mind is what's going on with the folks who are down in Texas who are dealing with the aftermath of Harvey. And then, of course, right now, like literally Hurricane Irma is right over the middle of Florida. It's Sunday night, about 11 p.m. Central Time, and they're just getting battered. And so the only thing I was really thinking about was going back to Hurricane Katrina, especially looking at Harvey and looking at Houston. A lot of the people who had to relocate out of New Orleans left New Orleans and went to Houston to resettle. And I'm sure this storyline's been on the news. I mean, there's no way it couldn't been. But, so now these folks are having to basically deal with flooding in their city again, losing everything again, potentially having to permanently relocate again. And it's these types of disasters that, they're tragic for everybody that's involved, everybody who has family members there. But they hit us the hardest. They hit minorities. They hit lower income families the hardest for a lot of reasons. One of those main things is, a lot of times either our insurance is inadequate to cover the losses, or insurance companies just look at us and say, there's no way that these guys have the ability to fight if we say that they're not covered. And so even you might have, water insurance, water damage insurance, but they'll say, but that's not flood insurance. Or you might have flood insurance and they'll say, oh, well, that's not from flooding. That's water damage. That's different. And they'll just fight to not pay, right? And if they do that with certain other demographics, they know that those folks, they'll lawyer up and they will be in for the long haul. And it's just cheaper to pay them out. But with us, a lot of times it's like they'll take a gamble and just say, I'm going to basically tell these people I'm not going to pay them and see what they do about it. And a lot of times there's just nothing we can do about it. So we get hit hard on that side. We get hit hard on the fact that, a lot of times in our families, we may not have an emergency fund. They say you should have an emergency fund that's like 6 months of your income. That's a hard thing to do. And we might not be in a position to where if an emergency hits, you got to leave the house, you got to leave the state and be gone somewhere else. We don't have 6 months worth of expenses in the bank to be able to cover. And so, it's starting fresh, and it's starting fresh from zero with us a lot of times. And the other thing is that a lot of times, like, we're in a job or in jobs that don't really support us the way that some other middle class or upper middle class jobs will support people who have a natural disaster happen. If you're working at a job where they're like, hey, if you miss work, it's over. We'll just replace you, which a lot more of us are in. Now you're in a situation where you're losing your home, you're having to track down your family members, you're having to track down a place to stay, you have no ability to get to work, and then you find out, oh, you don't even have work anymore. And it's just, it leads to complete and utter despair for us a lot more than it does other demographics. And that just, it bothers me. But as with everything else, that the way I look at things is, there's things that we can control and there's things that we have no control over. The thing that we can control in this situation when you look at having to relocate or having to restart from scratch after a disaster or even after a divorce or anything else in your life. A lot of times that is truly one of the best opportunities that we have to take ownership of the way that we make our money. A lot of times people have to relocate or have to start over, and the hardest thing to do is find a place to stay and find a way to make money, find a new job. And that holds people back so much, so many times. But if you have the confidence and the skills to create your own job or to create your own money, then you can make that second problem completely disappear forever. And so if you're looking at that, if you are relocating or if you're pressing the reset button on life where you currently live, you can turn this situation into an opportunity to break the chains of employment of working for somebody else and then start taking ownership of your money. So with that, what I wanted to do today was put out a list of 15 businesses that you can start with very little money in a new location. So you could definitely start these in a location where you already live in the same city. But even if you're moving to a new location and you don't have a lot of cash, you can start any one of these 15 businesses and do it without having roots in the community already. All it'll really take is a little bit of ingenuity, maybe a little bit of marketing on your part, but you can get started and you can start creating dollars for yourself. And I'm telling you from experience, because this year is the first time I've ever done it in my life. But when you learn how to create money from thin air, when you're not looking for it to come from a check that somebody else has their name on and all the taxes are already taken out of it, if you're not looking for money to come that way, if you look around you and you see opportunities and you see cash that you can just make start coming into your household, it is such a liberating feeling. It is such a powerful feeling that no matter what else is going on in the world, no matter what hardships you run across, you can make money happen for you and your family. And that's one of the most powerful things that a person can learn how to do. It's one of the best things you can do to put yourself in a position of strength so that no matter what tragedy might come and hit your household, no matter what you have to overcome, you can always make more money come in and not have to wait and worry about whether somebody else deems you worthy of getting their check. So I've got these 15 businesses you can start with very little money in a new location. And the way I did it is I broke these down into 5 categories. All right. And so I've got the categories of education, pets, cleaning, services, and online. And then I've got 3 businesses basically in each one of these categories. So no matter what your flavor is, no matter what you may feel comfortable jumping into, maybe 1 or 2 or several of these businesses might be right up your alley. Something that you could start tomorrow with nothing in your hand or very little in your hand. All right, so let's get started with these. All right, so the first category I'm going to talk about is the education category. And under that category, the first business is a tutoring business. If you have expertise or a lot of knowledge in a specific subject, whether you've got your degree in that subject or a higher level degree in that subject, or you simply are going through college at this point and you've got the knowledge that is right now accessible and useful to somebody who's a year behind you or 2 years behind you, you can actually get paid to tutor people. Tutoring is huge, especially for folks who are in high school, who are trying to compete for scholarships, or even to just get accepted into certain high-level schools. Those kids' parents will pay for specific tutoring in subjects in order to get their kids up to the top, to the cream of the crop. So if you're relocating, moving into a new spot, or you're restarting, and you've got some specific knowledge in a set subject area, you can start a tutoring business. All it really takes is your ability to market yourself, get your name out there, and get one client. A lot of times with any business, the only thing you need to do is get that one first client, because if you do a great job with them, a lot of times these parents, they're talking to each other and they'll tell each other, I've got this person tutoring my son, I got this person tutoring my daughter, and they'll want to know your name. So it's just about getting that first client to get you started. All right. Similarly, on that same vein, business number 2, giving music lessons. If you're musically inclined, if you play an instrument, I was thinking about this one because, my wife and I, we just went and found a piano. She plays the piano, and we've got, two of our kids who are extremely interested in learning to play the piano. I don't think she's ever given a music lesson in her life, but she's got the skill. She's got the skill to teach because she's done that, and she's doing that in another arena right now. And she's got the skill to play the piano. So giving music lessons, specifically in our case, giving piano lessons, is another way that you could create an income on the side by doing the exact same thing as tutoring. You just get that first client, market yourself out, get the first client, you start doing great work, and then start looking for referrals to other clients to start building your business. All right, so business number 3 under the education category. This one is actually kind of difficult to get into. I won't say difficult, but for certain things you need to have certifications. And this is being an exercise class instructor. That's one of the things that my wife picked up this year. So she is actually teaching exercise classes at different exercise centers around our city. Some of them are Zumba classes, Aqua Zumba classes, Strong, which is a new thing that came out by Zumba classes. And so she goes to exercise facilities and she teaches these classes, and she gets paid to do that. Now, I say it's kind of trickier. It might be expensive because in order to teach certain classes, you've got to have like a certification. Like she had to go to get Zumba certified, and then she had to go get Aqua Zumba certified, and all these things. And they cost a little bit of money. However, there's other ways to go about this process that don't require you to have certifications if you just have the experience. One of the things that's becoming really popular right now is these exercise boot camps. And the great thing about running an exercise boot camp is that you don't have to have a facility to do that. You can run an exercise boot camp in the park. If you've got a school that's nearby you that opens up their track and field to the public, you can run an exercise boot camp there. All you really need is a wide open space, location where you can do your exercises, where you can have people run. If you have any tools or anything that you would need them to use or want them to use out there, you just need to have a space where you can actually take them out there and you can do that. But if you have the ability, and if you can run a good exercise boot camp, again, all it really takes is marketing yourself, getting that first group of people in your class, doing a great job with them, and then word of mouth will spread, and you can start making money simply running your exercise classes in a public space with pretty much no overhead, starting this business. So that's what we got for the education side. In the next category is pets. All right. People love their pets. People will pay good money to have other people do things for their pets that they just don't have the time or the energy or the desire to do. And you wouldn't think it, but you can make really good money taking care of other people's pets. So the very first business here is a pet walking business. You can literally get paid to take people's dogs for a walk, and they will pay, again, good money for it. You set up your business, you set up a rotation, a number of days a week that you're going to be running this. And again, it's word of mouth. You market yourself, you get the first couple of clients, and then you just get them to grow word of mouth. Similar to pet walking is a pet grooming business. This one might require a little bit more because you have to have the right equipment for it, right? And you also have to have the right skills and experience. If you don't have any experience grooming pets, if you don't have the right tools for grooming pets, then this isn't going to be a business you're going to be able to just walk into and say, hey, I'm going to clip your dog's toenails and I'm going to, give them a bath and fluff them out and do all these things, because you could seriously end up hurting somebody's pet if you don't know what you're doing. You don't have the right equipment or experience or training in it. But if you do, if you've got that background, that is a great business that moving to a new location, you could just start it yourself. Let's say you worked at a pet groomer where you previously lived. There's no reason to go and work for somebody else. You've already got the skills. You've already got the experience. Just go in, create your own name, start your own business, and then start doing it for yourself so that you're not having to wait for somebody else to give you a check. You're writing the check, right? So pet walking, pet grooming. And now the third business, this one might seem a little bit out of the box, and it definitely won't appeal to everybody. However, you got to think about it. Think about what people are willing to pay to do and how much money they're willing to pay to do things they really don't want to do. And one of the third businesses you could start dealing with pets is you can actually get paid to clean up people's pet waste. All right. So like for me, this one comes to mind immediately because I've got a really big yard. I got 2 really big dogs and they eat a lot. And you know what happens after animals eat? Other stuff's got to happen after that. And they create a lot of it. And I've got a really big yard that they are all over that yard. And so every single week, I got to get out there with a scooper and pick up all of this stuff out of my yard and dispose of it. Because I got kids that want to run around in the yard. I want to use my yard. I'm not trying to walk around in the yard that's covered in dog poop. But at the same time, I don't enjoy going out there every single week and spending my time cleaning that up before I can mow my lawn or do anything else. I would gladly pay somebody else to come in once a week, 2-3 times a week, and just pick that stuff up and get rid of it for me. I would be happy to do that if there was somebody in this area that actually offered that service. So think about that. If you can make it to an area like a suburban area where you know people have pets and you know people likely don't want to do that work, go out there and offer to clean up the pet stuff and, set a price that works for you, that makes it valuable for you. Because, when it all comes down to it, that's a market that in a lot of places is really untapped. And you can figure out, what are people willing to pay for this service and how much money would I have to be making in order to make it worth my while to clean up somebody else's pet's crap, for lack of a better word. Everybody's got their price. I personally, on the other hand of it, I hate doing it myself, but I would have no problem starting my own business going to do it for somebody else because you're paying me for it. I don't like cleaning it up myself because I don't get paid to clean up my own dog's crap. But I would definitely, for the right price, go into other people's yards and clean up their dog's poop for them to cut me a check or put cash in my hand for me to walk to the next yard down the street. So, so far that's 6 businesses that we have that you could start in a new location, in your current location, with very little money down. All it takes is a little bit of marketing and getting that first client and doing a great job. So again, that first 6, a tutoring service, giving music lessons, starting an exercise boot camp. You got pet walking, pet grooming, and pet waste cleanup. So moving from that, we're going to move into the cleaning category. And these are pretty common businesses that people think about that you can start, but we're going to hit them here anyway. So the first one is a cleaning service for either residential or commercial. A lot of times people hear commercial and they think, oh, that's way too big, doing a huge janitorial service for a big old corporate building. Hold on. Just because we say commercial doesn't mean we're talking about cleaning a high rise, right? Commercial is basically any business that you would be going in to clean. It could be a small business. It could be an attorney's or an accountant's office. It's pretty much anywhere where they would need to have that office cleaned up, but they likely don't have the people on staff who would be doing that. So you could start your own cleaning service. You might start it out by going and cleaning houses, but then you might be able to transfer over and start doing small businesses, or you could service both. But in any case, the only thing you really need is the same household cleaning materials that you would have in your own home. And you just use those to go and clean someone else's home or clean somebody else's business for a paycheck. All right, the next one, vehicle detailing. This one is one typically when you think about vehicle detailing, you think about a shop, right? You think about taking your car to get detailed at a shop that somebody owns, but you don't actually need that. If you know how to clean cars, if you know how to detail cars, all you really need is a vehicle to lug the stuff around that you use to clean cars, and you just need to go to a place where they have nice cars. So I heard on another podcast, again, I've talked about this one several times over, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, hosted by Jay Jones. In a couple of his episodes, he talks about a friend of his that has a mobile detailing service that basically he started by going to big corporate locations that have a lot of people who make a good amount of money, who have really nice cars that they want to keep clean, but they don't have the time and the energy to constantly go out and get those cars clean. You start a mobile detailing service, you go out, and again, I say it over and over, all it takes is getting that first client and doing a great job on their car. Because as soon as somebody sees that Jim or Jeff or Katrina or whoever it is getting their car detailed at work, while they're sitting in the office getting work done, their car is gleaming and glistening in the parking lot. You got other people coming out to go to lunch. You got other people coming out to go home, and they see this brand new gleaming car. They're going to ask, where do you get your car detailed? How did you get your car detailed? Oh, I had somebody come do it for me. And now you might be able to get clients, 5, 10, 15, 20 clients at a single office, because everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses, right? If one person can have their car detailed at work, I can get my car detailed at work. So that's a really good business that you could start in a location that's brand new to you with not a lot of money. All it takes is getting that first client and doing a great job. All right, last one in the cleaning field. Talked about this one before as well. Talked about this one on, I haven't talked about it, but again, Jay Jones talked about this one on his show as well, is window washing. A window washing business is so easy. All you need is a bucket and a squeegee and some soap. That's it. A bucket, squeegee, soap, go out, get your first client, do a great job, and create a rotation. Build a route of people that you go and clean their windows for a certain amount of money, and now you are creating your own paycheck. You are making money come into your household, doing nothing but going out every day and making connections. So those are our first 3 categories. You got education, pets, and cleaning. And then the next category is going to go into more of a manual labor. Not completely, but we're talking more labor category here. So the next one is going to be a handyman. If you got those skills, handyman, handywoman, if you got the skills to fix things around somebody's house, you can go out and make money fixing things around somebody's house. You could make money building things for somebody. Like for me, I have zero ability to fix anything at all around my house. That's not true. I fixed a sink and I did that. Yup, that's about it. But for major projects, things that need to get done around the house, like the way I feel about it, I'm here to support the economy. I'm gonna hire somebody to do it, right? So if you've got the skills to build something, like my wife wanted a big garden in the backyard. I have zero ability to build that big garden and a fence that'll keep our dogs out. So we went and we hired somebody to go in the backyard, build the fence to go around our garden. If you've got those skills, it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter where you go, people will need those skills. You just got to market yourself, get the first client, do a great job, and then have them market for you. Ask for referrals. Start building your business. The next thing you know, you're going to be the go-to person to call on. All right. Similarly, along that same line, you've got your old standby, gardening, lawn care. Those businesses have been, staples for as long as people have had yards, right? People want to have a great looking yard. People want to build gardens, but they don't always have the time. They don't always have the skills. So if that's something that you're good at, all it takes is a little bit of equipment and the ability to go out and make connections and get that client, and you can have yourself a garden and lawn care business. And the last one in this category is going to tie into personal care. So what I have here is senior citizen care as well as babysitting, because the two are kind of similar, but they're also very different. But they fall under the same thing, getting paid by somebody else to take care of another human being. Now, babysitting and senior citizen, I wouldn't call it care, but more like assistance, right? Because there may be certifications that you have to have in order to call yourself, a caretaker for senior citizens. But providing a service that gives assistance to senior citizens, there's no requirement to be certified to do that, right? There are a lot of people like me, myself personally. My mom lives in a completely different state. I'm 35, she's 60, she's kind of pushing on up there, right? And there's gonna come a time where I'm gonna want to move back to the state where my mom is, or I'm gonna want to move my mom to my house so that I can take care of her, so that our family can take care of her. Because if we're living in completely different states, as she continues to age, if I'm nowhere nearby and I'm only child, there's just nothing I'll be able to do to help her out. In the meantime, if my mom needed somebody there to provide assistance, and I could pay somebody just to, run errands for her, do, difficult jobs for her around the house, whether that be taking care of the lawn or taking care of, like we said, handyman things or anything like that would need to be done in the house, going out to get groceries, bringing them back. Now, she's going to get mad at me, talking like this. My mom is nowhere near that point right now. But I'm just saying, as she does get older, having somebody there to provide that assistance, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, however often, for a certain fee, that's a valuable service that people who are in that kind of early middle age stage where, you're out, you've got your own career, you've got your own family, kids at home, and yet you have parents that need assistance that you can't always be there for, but you've got the money to pay somebody else to kind of step in when they can to take care of it. That's a market. That's a market that you could fill if you got the right personality, if you got the ability to connect with people, with senior citizens, and help them out like that. You could create a business, a very successful business, filling that need. And on the other side of that, babysitting, babysitting is as old as the fact that children exist in the world. You can start a babysitting business and be very successful at making money that way. All right, so there's 4 categories: education, pets, cleaning, manual labor, and then the last category is online. All right, online businesses that you could start with very little money from any location. And the first one is one that I'm into right now. It's eBay and Amazon selling. You've heard me talk about this on other episodes before. Selling on eBay is really easy because stuff doesn't even have to be new. Anything that you've got at your home, anything you could find at a thrift shop or a yard sale that you can kind of get an eye for it and be able to tell whether or not it's got some value that you could sell online. You can pick that stuff up for a price, turn around, put it online for a retail price, and you pocket the profit in the difference. Going to Amazon, one of the best and easiest ways to make money in Amazon getting started is this thing called retail arbitrage. As I've talked about on previous shows, all you got to do with that is you just go out to stores like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, pretty much any store that's going to have a clearance section, and you just go to that clearance section. There's apps on your phone where you can actually scan things that are on that clearance section aisle, and it'll tell you what price they're selling for online, on Amazon, on eBay. It'll tell you what the fees would be for Amazon, and it'll tell you what kind of profit you can make if you were to buy that product and throw it up online for sale. And so you basically just go around, you find products that you can make a profit on, you buy them, and then you throw them online, send them off to Amazon. They keep it in their warehouse. When it sells, you get paid. Very, very simple. This one does require a little bit of money because you got to have money to buy inventory, right? But it doesn't take much. When I started this business, I put a couple $100s into it to get started. It was not that difficult at all, but it's a perpetual money machine. So long as you're picking the right products that sell pretty quickly and have a good return on investment ratio, it's going to print money for you, right? And it doesn't require a lot of time, effort, or skill to make it happen. The next 2 do require a little bit of skill and they require time. But like every other business that we talked about, except for the online sales, all you got to do with these is be good at what you do, network, get that first client, and then do a great job with that client and parlay that to other business. So these next 2 businesses, the first one is a social media manager, and the second one is a virtual assistant. They're very similar to each other. Your social media manager could be your virtual assistant, but social media management is just what it sounds like. I just recently experimented with paying somebody on one of the online platforms. Like, I actually went to Fiverr, but you can get people on Fiverr, on things like Elance or Upwork. But basically people who have the time and the energy and kind of the know-how to market on social media. You can just pay somebody to create social media posts for your business, for your project. So I experimented with getting somebody to do social media management for the Buy Black podcast pages on my Facebook page, the Instagram, and the Twitter page, creating posts for me, tweeting at other people, just trying to get the name out there. With me working a 40-hour-a-week job, plus being in the military, plus I have another secondary job with the family, with the kids, with the dogs, with everything. I simply do not have the time. I do not have the time to, put out 2 episodes a week, which obviously I've scaled back. I'm only doing 1 right now, but put out 2 episodes a week to research, to interview people, to edit and review this podcast, to publish it, put it out there, and then also spend, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on social media every single day trying to market. It's just not that many hours in the day. So yeah, absolutely. I'll grab somebody and I'll pay somebody to put relevant posts out on my social media pages. So there's constantly new content out there so that people have something to connect with. I'll be happy to do that. Once everything gets rolling and I actually have more emails coming in, I'm getting more feedback, I have people reaching out to me to do more interviews, I'm going to have to hire a virtual assistant. And a virtual assistant is literally just that. Instead of having an assistant who's, on their cell phone walking around behind you all day long, this is just somebody who you work with virtually. They could be anywhere in the world. A lot of times people want virtual assistants who are in the United States, because even though you might be more expensive, you speak the language, you understand the culture, and it's a lot easier sometimes for an American to field the work and the questions and the type of things that a virtual assistant will have to than going through someone who speaks English as a second language. But as a virtual assistant, I mean, you're literally you're answering emails, you're answering messages, you're taking messages, you're basically doing all of those things, managing the calendar, managing appointments, all those things that an assistant would do. You're doing this for another professional, for another individual. You just don't happen to be in the same location as them. And so what ends up happening is that you get some type of access to their accounts, their communications accounts. And then basically you just manage their day and their week and their month for them so that they can just come to you, and most of the day-to-day tedious work that needs to be done behind the scenes, that's all taken care of. And that person just comes and says, okay, where do I need to be? Where do I need to go? When is my next appointment? When's my next scheduled meeting? And you've got it all there for them. And, you set your own prices. And as you get experience with that, as you get, more of a reputation with your clients, you can raise your prices. But you're basically working as a freelancer. You can do it from home. You can do it on the road. You can do it wherever you've got an internet connection. So it's not difficult at all to set up this type of business. So going back through, that was our 5 categories. 5 categories, 3 businesses per category. You got education, pets, cleaning, manual labor, and online businesses that you can get started in a new location with very little money in your pocket. So that's going to do it for today's show. If you've got your own recommendations for businesses that you could start with little money in a new location, I would love to hear them from you. You can either leave a comment on this episode in your podcast app, whatever you happen to be listening on, but I prefer for you to share it on social media. So right there on your podcast app, there is an ability for you to share this episode on your social media page. If you think this information is valuable for somebody else, click that share button, send it to your favorite social media location, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you spend most of your time. Share this episode and then add your own recommendations for a business that you could start in a new location with very little money. Or you can reach out to me at our Facebook group. It's Buy Black Podcast Community on Facebook. Join that Facebook group and toss your recommendations into the group and get that conversation going there as well. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. We'll get this thing produced, edited, and put up for you guys to hit tomorrow morning. If you're out there in Texas, in those affected areas for Harvey. Be safe as you guys are trying to get through the recovery. And if you're in the path of Irma as it's pushing up through Florida and Georgia and my whole southern states, just be safe, keep your head down, and we'll be praying for you out here. Y'all have a safe and wonderful week. I look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to me, gjones@buyblackpodcast.com, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for being part of the Buy Black podcast community. If you're enjoying the show, I'd appreciate reading your 5-star review in iTunes. Join us next time for another empowering episode.